Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Well, hello there, and how you doing, and what a difference a weekend makes, and I'm going to go shoot myself. I sort of thought we were going to be able to coast this last week. Well, I really, I feel like most of my brain has shut down, and a lot of my my emotional coping mechanisms are also a bit askew. I am nobody who should be doing anything resembling a talk show at the moment, because I don't know that I'm capable of coherent discourse. We'll find out, won't we? Hello and happy Halloween. It's the last day of October, as is the case with Halloween. Which means that finally we reach November tomorrow, and then 1 week later, the election that has been haunting our dreams, our waking hours. Here's what I gotta just tell you something. This thought occurred to me last night when I was having trouble sleeping. The absurdity of this election, you can't make this stuff up. If scriptwriters had written it, it would be rejected as too outrageous. All of that, the unprecedented, that this last thing, this Comey bomb that clearly has people stunned. People who know him, people who have held that position, people who have served in the Justice Department as attorneys general and or deputy attorneys general under Republican administrations, Democratic administrations, Republicans themselves, Democrats themselves, have been stunned by what he did. One of the most passionate denunciations of what he did I saw on Fox News by one of their regulars. A so loathsome conservative woman who ran against, who did she run against? Her name is Pirro, Pirro. She was like a prosecutor, maybe a DA in New York City, and maybe she ran against Schumer, I don't know what. Anyway, she went after Comey for doing this, said it was absolutely an outrage, damaging the Justice Department, damaging the FBI, damaging people's trust in both. Will there be anything left on any institution left standing after this election. Any. So here was my thought. None of this Comey stuff. From his first news conference, which stunned everybody, where he went around the Attorney General and he said he would not prosecute, not that that's his call to make, that he would not prosecute Hillary Clinton for what the emails, that she was careless, blah, blah, blah. All of that, what happened then, was called unprecedented. Because the whole thing about the FBI and investigations is they don't say boo while they're doing them. And if they do them and then decide there's nothing here and we're not going to bring any charges, then they don't say anything then. So you never even know that they were investigating something. And so Comey, here, I'm going to read this thing. The print on this is like for a, look at this. The print is so small, it wouldn't even be called fine print. I don't know what this is. And amazingly, an old lady with no glasses on, is going to read some of it. All right. Oh, no, that's what you do. Like this. I'm going to read some of this. This, by the way, is written by somebody who was a Deputy Attorney General in a Clinton administration, Bill Clinton administration, and also co-authored by someone who was Deputy Attorney General during George W. Bush's. Okay? So both people held the same very high-level position in the Justice Department, and they were so appalled, the two of them, by what Comey did, that they got together and wrote this little thing. And what they talk about, how it's the Justice Department has this long-standing, well-established tradition that limits disclosure of ongoing investigations to the public, even to Congress, especially in a way that could be seen as influencing an election. These traditions have protected the integrity of the department and the public's confidence in the mission to take care that the laws are faithfully and impartially executed. Decades ago, the department decided that in the 60-day period before an election, the balance should go way, way, way to one side, where they don't disclose, they really get mum, because you don't want to be perceived as influencing or attempting to influence an election. Now understand, this little lesson is being written by a Republican who served under W and a Democrat who served under Bill Clinton. And they tell us that a memo reflecting this has been issued every 4 years by whatever Attorney General is in that position. Democrat, Republican, male, female, black, white, it don't matter. They all have issued the same memo year after year, which is to, again, remind everybody in the department, and the FBI is part of the Justice Department, that there is to be no disclosures of any kind that could appear to influence the election. And these two then say, as part of that obligation, Justice Department, FBI heads, everybody is constantly told that they must recognize that the department is an institution. It ain't a person. That the people in it are temporary custodians, and they must neither seek the spotlight for their own advancement, nor aggrandizing crusaders on high horses. No, it does not allow for them to be blah, 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 blah. So they go on to say they are freaked by the departure from these standards by Comey. But here's what I wanted to say, because there's one after the other of these. I mean, if you've been looking at op-ed pages and what's been written by people, it's absolute, almost unanimous condemnation of what Comey has done. In fact, Eric Holder, who counts James Comey as a friend, Eric Holder, former Attorney General, wrote a piece for the Washington Post today saying that he had worked with Comey and he knew him to be very, what we always hear about him, that he's a man of honor, and yet he says this: I know him well, and this is a very difficult piece for me to write. He is a man of integrity and honor. I respect him, but good men make mistakes. And in this instance, he has committed a serious error with potentially severe implications. It is incumbent upon him to dispel the uncertainty he has created. It is up to the director to correct his mistake in order to protect our system of justice. All right, so his friends, everybody is coming at him. There are calls that he might be liable to prosecution himself for what do you call that when you for violation of the Hatch Act. The Hatch Act, ladies and gentlemen, which deprives people who are in the government from using their official position to influence an election. That's what the Hatch Act in part covers. Okay. So, but here's what I thought. Think back. Comey's first mistake, his taking it all upon himself and first telling us that Hillary Clinton's emails, while reckless and blah, 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 that no prosecutor would bring charges, that there wasn't anything really there. Remember that one? Okay. He did that because his boss, the Attorney General, Loretta Lynch, had been compromised. Do you remember? She felt she'd been compromised, and she was correct. She was compromised by none other than Bill Clinton. It so happened that her plane, she was on a plane that was sitting on the tarmac in Phoenix, I believe. Bill Clinton was in a plane, and since their planes were near each other and he knows her well, he went over to her plane and they talked for a bit. This was reported. They both said that it was just, hi, how you doing? How the kids? Everything okay? Blah, blah, blah. But this was happening while the Justice Department and the FBI were investigating Hillary Clinton's emails. So, the fact that Hillary Clinton's husband showed up and had a little private tete-a-tete with the Attorney General didn't look good. She should have known it, the Attorney General. She shouldn't have let him on the plane. She should have said, "Hey, Bill, hi, nice to see you, but you're not coming on." She didn't do that. But after the fact, she said, "Oi, okay, so I'm now, like, I'm backing off this because I don't want it to look like he was trying to tell me what to do and that I'm acting, in some way for him." So, Bill Clinton, the candidate's wife, the candidate's husband, is the one that created the situation for the first Comey unprecedented news conference. Who created the second unprecedented Comey news conference? Who? Hillary Clinton's chief aide's husband, Anthony Weiner. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, with Hillary Clinton now twisting in the wind because of the actions of two men, both of whom have difficulty controlling impulses. Think of it. Who's at the base of both Comey press conferences? Bill Clinton, number one. And number two, brought to you by Eric Weiner's Weiner. Anthony Weiner's Weiner. Isn't this how it always is? Men behaving badly bring down the women associated with them. Men behaving badly somehow get by. But that her chance for victory in a week is now a little shaky because of the imprudent, to say the least, actions of Bill Clinton and Anthony Weiner. And ain't that the truth? Caller, hello.
Lynn.
Yeah.
Let me talk you down. The cement's already dried, Lynn. She's going to win the election. He might pick up a point or two. You realize the last election, Obama was only winning by 1 point. Mm-hmm. When the Electoral College and all that came in, he won basically on a landslide. So and right now the polls, I wouldn't pay attention to anything on those polls.
Yeah, I'm not saying she's not going to get elected. I'm saying that I'm not going to be, her presidency is going to be a friggin' nightmare.
Oh, yeah, they're going to fight it all the way.
And you know what, with this stuff now, I mean, we will never, ever hear the end. It's just going to, this is why when she first ran for president in 2008, right, I, to the consternation of many, did not support her. I supported Barack Obama. And my reason was not that she was that she wasn't capable, not that she would be wonderful to have a woman president and all that kind of stuff, but I didn't want another 4 or 8 years of Clintons in the White House, because it's just, and what I didn't know is that Obama in the White House would get the same kind of crap. But for nothing he did, just because the Republicans kept hounding him and trying to put roadblocks in every way to delegitimize his presidency, from birtherism to, the obstruction in the Congress. But with Hillary now, we will get that the sort of institutional harassment of her presidency. But we will get endless investigations, and we will get, and there'll be more, because Bill Clinton screws up. He just screws up. We haven't heard the end of it, and I don't know. This is
what gets me about this classified bullshit. First of all, when they send it to whoever they're sending to, wouldn't you know who you're sending to and where it was going? And the people that send it to her, if there really is any, wouldn't they be in trouble too? If it's a private server. So it's a lot of, and another thing, they don't let stuff that's top secret out like that.
No.
Is to sit there and say, oh, it's classified. Well,
I know.
Change your mind on stuff. Oh, okay, declassified. You can't even find out what the hell happened a lot of times. It's just overblown crap. It's political all the way around. It's so disgusting. I can't take it. But I think she's going to win. I still think they're going to pull off the Senate. And that'll be it. It'll be over.
No, it won't. My point is, no, it won't.
That part, but yeah, we're going to be. And this is why Obama should never appointed a Republican. Didn't he appoint this Comey?
Yes.
You don't. Never. Always a Democrat. Always have an ace in your hole. I mean, you can't be doing that shit. And he was trying to be bipartisan. Not with these knuckleheads. They're not going to. They're going to want it their way. So you just do the nuke option all the time. That's all I say anymore. You do what you can do, and then that's it.
Okay.
I'm tired of these bullshit and saying, oh, this old talk and get it. No, they never do. They never do. It's always their way or the highway. You get tired of that. So do what you can do with the people you have, and screw them. That's what I'd say.
Okay.
Because that's what they do to you.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
So you might as well do the same thing.
Yeah.
I think whoever gets in there is only going to be in for 4 years, too.
That's my guess, too.
Quits and somebody else runs.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you'll be able to get elected twice.
No.
This
I don't either.
environment is.
I don't either.
No, I think it's going to be, you better get something done or you're done.
And how do you get something done when you have it? No, I don't know. I'm so fed up with it all. I mean, stop and think where we've been in this election. We've been, with the Republican nominee talking about grabbing women's, private parts. We have got the Democratic nominees, Huma Abedin's husband, texting and sexting his penis all over the place. We've got it is so disgusting. What is it? And there is something about the Clintons that they seem to have really, how does these awful people often around them?
And then now I have the joy of my neighbor right across the street got a Trump and Pence sign up.
Yeah.
We'll put it up this weekend.
Yeah.
Guy worked 35 years in the union. I said to him, well, you got the wrong guy. And I tried to talk to him, but, he doesn't like anybody. Well, I'll vote for Trump, I just like it.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Oh, dear. Okay.
Okay. See you
Bye.
later.
Bye. Chuck writes, I don't understand how Comey could seemingly do the right thing months ago and now seemingly do the wrong thing. Something doesn't smell right. Well, one of the, Paul Krugman thinks that he says this. So what happened? We may never know the full story, but the best guess is that Comey, like many others, and I include media, would-be advocacy groups, and all kinds of other folks who call themselves nonpartisan, that Comey let himself be bullied by the Republicans. Working the refs is what the Republicans do. Working the refs, screaming about bias and unfair treatment, no matter how favorable the treatment actually is, has been a consistent long-term political strategy for the Republicans, and the reason it keeps working is because it so often works. And that he had this, he was a Republican, and he was now they hated him for what he did. So whether or not in this man of integrity, we keep hearing, that was in his head working somehow, even unconsciously, Could have been. But Krugman says this is a result of the Republicans working the ref. Comey. Who knows? Chuck also writes, Huma Abedin certified to the FBI months ago that she had turned over all devices that could have contained Hillary's emails. Did she not turn over Weiner's on purpose? I have to put some of the blame on her. I can't follow any of this. She said she's surprised that any of her, that was his laptop. She said she didn't have a clue that was on his server. Here's the weird thing. Comey never saw one of these emails, saw no content, and yet he says to the Nation on Friday that there appear to be pertinent. He didn't know. He hadn't even seen them. That's the weird thing. Caller, go ahead.
Hello, Lynn.
Hi.
Hi. I came, called because of what you were saying about what Krugman said about the Republicans.
Yeah.
Always complaining about bias and all that kind
of
stuff. And what I see is that the adults need to tell them to go stand in the corner so they calm down. Because they're just babies. Everybody gives them what they want because they're whining.
I know. But it works. That's what...
And that's the thing. They need to stop giving them what they want and then just send them to the corner and say, guess what? You guys, until you calm down, we're just going to ignore you. Because I think that's the biggest problem is they keep whining and people keep saying, okay, here. Okay, shut up, please.
That's right. It's to shut them up.
Yeah. And they just have to stop doing it. And I actually starting to see that happening. Especially with the Trump campaign. They're like the more they whine about bias, it's like, oh, whatever. Here's what we got. Too bad. Go in the corner and shut up.
Oh. You can't make this stuff up.
Yeah.
I mean, think of Anthony Weiner back at the head of the news, potentially this jerk, this unbelievable, messed up jerk of a human being.
Yeah.
Do you hear what Sharpton said? Sharpton said, oh, no, he's a recurring nightmare. It's like one of those Damien movies. It's like every time you think he's dead, he keeps coming back again.
And here's what I said about that. I said, it wasn't Hillary. Hillary didn't show her wiener. It wasn't Hillary's, what's her name?
Huma's. No.
It wasn't her.
It's these men, the men these women are with do nothing but mess up.
I keep telling people, I don't care what he did. It's not her.
Right.
They're two different people. I don't care if they're married, were married. They are two different people. You don't put the sins of the father on the son. You don't put the sins of the husband on the wife. You don't do it.
But it is weird that the two of them, who are so tight, apparently, both married to men that have done, Hillary introduced poor Huma to Anthony.
Mm-hmm.
She set it up. She knows men who will destroy you. Unfriggin' believable.
And guess what? There's about 50% of the American women populace who are married to men who are going to feel their pain.
Oh, yeah.
There's a good, I'm saying 50%, but, because, 50% of men are deplorable. Oops. But, there are a lot of women who are going to feel that pain. If they don't have one now, they had one before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I actually think this might actually help her.
Oh, with women.
Yeah, with women.
Here we go again. Yeah.
We got to get rid of these men and their craziness, and maybe we just need a woman in the White House, or just.
And stop and think of this. Mm-hmm. So the other thing, apparently, the FBI is also investigating, the fact that the Russians hacked the DNC and Podesta and all that stuff with the intent to influence the election, and that one of the candidates, namely Donald Trump, has seemingly been getting talking points from the Kremlin, and has even suggested that the Kremlin hack into her emails or produce those emails since the FBI wasn't getting them. So isn't it interesting, though, that the FBI director comes out with this about emails that he hasn't read, has no idea if they're even if they're potentially duplicative of all the emails he saw before. The vast majority of these emails have nothing whatsoever to do with Hillary Clinton. And this he comes out for and talks about 10 days before the election. But what's going on with the Russians and Trump investigation? Anything?
The world may never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely something going on, but he's playing it right by this. And this just the fact that people are getting so upset about emails.
Emails. But here's the thing. Here's how this Republican stuff works.
Yeah.
Email. Most people out there, they don't have a clue what these emails are about, but all they have to hear now is Hillary Clinton's emails, and they think a crime's been committed. Every time she puts out an email, a crime's been because that's what they've put in the people's head. People aren't following the nitty-gritty of this. They just hear FBI, Hillary Clinton, more emails. Oh, my God. Lock her up.
And the sad thing is that Democrats have too much respect for the intelligence of the American people. They could use the same techniques, but they don't.
Yeah.
Because they would try to be high-minded.
I know, it's so, yeah. They're so prissy.
And I've even said, on Facebook, I said, you have to realize that 50% of the American public is below average intelligence. And people get like, oh, I can't believe you say that. That's terrible. You're all uppity, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, well, 50% of anything is going to...
Yeah, I know. Hello?
And then I said, obviously you fall in that same category.
All right, hey, I want to know, did you go to the...
So I actually had to work that night. I didn't want to say it on air.
Yeah.
It would have been like a downer. I thought it was like fun to invite me.
Aw.
Yeah, I didn't want to say that I had to work that night on air. That guy was genuinely funny, though.
He was, and genuinely nice guy, too.
Uh-huh.
Hey, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Oh, God. There's another former deputy attorney general who has called for, and this guy's a Republican. This guy's a Republican, too. He says, for the sake of full disclosure, I was a supporter of Jeb Bush, then Marco Rubio, then John Kasich. And he says that he thinks that Comey has violated the Hatch Act. And consequently, he said, I filed a complaint against the FBI with the Office of Special Counsel, which investigates Hatch Act violations. I spent much of my career working on government and lawyers' ethics, including as chief White House ethics lawyer for George W. Bush. Oh, my God. Okay. I never thought that the FBI could be dragged into a circus until this week. Okay, yeah, so that guy was in the Bush White House. Oh, dear. Anybody else on any of this? Because I'm about done. Unbelievable. Yeah, so, I mean, Donald Trump's out there saying, 650,000 more emails from Hillary. No, it's 650,000 emails on Anthony fucking Weiner's computer. Most of them written, I assume, by him or to him. Dear God. Here from Linda, I hate to be one of those conspiracy theorists, but if the reports are true, Huma is saying she doesn't know how those emails got on there. That scares me. Can you ask your listeners? Wait, we have a call. Hang on. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hi.
Oh, we're on the air. I'm sorry.
Yeah. You got to turn down that. Yeah, thank you.
Sorry. Expected a producer first.
Okay.
What has to happen here, Lynn, is that there has to be a concerted effort to get the bums out of the House in the next 2 years. Just as the day after Obama was elected, you have the Mitch McConnells of the world saying that their goal is not to cooperate, but rather to make him a one-term president. Mm-hmm. What we have to do is to begin a concerted effort to educate the public as to the obstructionism that's ruined our country by these people in the last 8 years and what promises to be happening for the next 2 years, and get started now to get the bums out of there.
Well, I agree, but that's something the Democrats always drop the ball on. We always suffer huge defeats in the midterm elections. So a lot of people are saying if she gets elected, she's got no more than 2 years to get something done before she probably, even if she gains the Senate again, before she loses it back to the Republicans for control. And the House, because of gerrymandering and all these totally safe districts, I don't know that we can take it.
If we don't think that we can, we never will.
True.
And if we don't try, we never will.
True.
And we have to make a concerted effort. I carry little cards around in my pocket, and on those cards are 8 programs, the most humane features of our government: the 8-hour day, the 40-hour work week, Social Security, disability, Medicare, unemployment insurance, and so on. 8 of them. And these are programs that were promoted by Democrats and fought tooth and nail by Republicans. And on the reverse of the card, it's a little business card size card. And on the reverse of it, it says, you can make no such list for the Republicans. They've never made one, and I should say it 3 times, never one program have they put forward to benefit the American middle class. And I can't tell you how many of my Republican friends, it may take them a while, but maybe a year later will come back to me and say, you know what, I have to admit to you, I've never been able to make such a chart. And that's what needs to happen. The basic goodness of the Democrats gets balled up in Anthony Weiners and all this other crap. And the fact is, like the fellow before said, half the American public is below average in intelligence. They need to be educated on a C-spot run basis. Here are 8 things that have improved your lives. And at the conclusion of my card, I say, ask your mother or father or grandfather and grandmother how they like their Medicare and Social Security. And then remind them how to vote. You know, you have the villages down in Florida full of transplanted Pittsburghers and so on, who are living their lives thanks to the programs of the Democrats and voting for Trump. Living on Social Security and Medicare. And they need to have their faces slapped and awoken.
Did you make up these cards yourself?
Yeah.
Good for you.
I'll email you one.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Good job. Thank you. Bye. Bye. There's a guy who gets things done. I can tell. Okay, back to Linda here. Huma is saying she doesn't know how those emails got there. That scares me. Can you ask your listeners who have more knowledge? If Huma was home and decided to check her work emails, signed on to the laptop, signed on her email accounts on a day off, would all her emails from those accounts now be exposed and viewable on that laptop? I don't think. They're saying 650,000 emails may be on that laptop? Hell, I've never received or sent that many emails, personal and work, in my life. Yeah, that's a lot. Well, she has said she's never deleted any. 650,000, that is huge. But remember that both she and he are in politics. And I can't imagine how much back and forthing. Let's say most of them are coming into them. They're emails that they received as opposed to emails they wrote. I don't know, 650,000. How do they even know it's 650,000? Is it, I guess that's a number that's on the, jeez. And oh, sure, they'll get through all of them before the election. Caller, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
I want to change the subject on you, but I think this is of great significance. Did
Okay.
you hear about the auto truck run on October 20th?
The auto truck run.
Okay. Budweiser had a truck travel 120 miles from Fort Collins, Colorado to Colorado Springs, Colorado. 120 miles, and the truck drove itself.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right.
And I think this is going to be the step one of bad things coming ahead for American workers.
Well, you know, I don't disagree with you, and I've been saying every time I'm on the highway now and I look at all those trucks, I think I sometimes, you know, I'll look in a cab if I pass them and I'll see a guy and I'll think, you poor guy. You're not going to have a job in 5 years, 10 years.
Well, you know, and Budweiser, who did this, are chomping at the bit because a truck driver can drive 11 hours by law.
A robot can drive forever.
24 hours a day.
Yeah, just needs to
So that
refuel.
means that they can go twice the distance in a 24-hour day than a truck driver can.
And they don't have to pay any, you know, they don't have to pay the robot. They don't have to, all you have to do is service them. Don't have to give them benefits. Oh, yeah, we like these robots. To hell with people. I hear you. No, it's coming. There's no stopping it.
Well, it's not going to be only in trucking. It's going to be in other.
Everything. So it's just going to, that will only add to the anger in America.
Correct.
Right. So the anger, we think it's high now. Get ready. It's just going to keep on going up.
You know, I think people like your son
Yeah.
are going to have a much more difficult
Yeah.
future than past generations had.
I agree. Oh, without a doubt, I agree.
Well, I just wanted to bring that because I think October 20th was step one.
Okay. Thank you. I hadn't seen that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye. Yeah, so Comey said in his letter to Congress, the Bureau has learned of the existence of emails that appear to be pertinent. Stop and think about that. He blew up an election because he's learned and it appears and he doesn't have a clue. Never seen one of those emails. Appears to be pertinent. And then he sends a letter to the FBI employees. And he says, of course, this is a quote, of course, we don't ordinarily tell Congress about ongoing investigations. Uh-huh. And then he wrote, at the same time, however, given that we don't know the significance of this newly discovered collection of emails, okay, again, he's reiterating, he doesn't know anything. Because we don't know the significance of these new emails, I don't want to create a misleading impression in the middle of an election. There is a significant risk of being misunderstood. Jeez, has he lost his mind? Yeah, there's a significant risk of being misunderstood about things that we don't know the significance of, but I thought I'd better throw all this out there in the middle of this presidential election and in a time frame where it is impossible to finish this investigation and to then tell people, never mind. Oh, my bad. Never mind. It was pretty much nothing. There's nothing there. No smoking guns. There's a risk of being misunderstood. Charles Blow says that's one of the most appalling understatements of this appalling presidential cycle. Oh, dear. Margie says, 650,000 emails, most of them pictures of dicks. That's... I think you might be onto something there. Good for you. I think that might be, yeah. Might be it. God. Okay. Susan Faludi. You know her? She's an author. I've interviewed her a few times back in the day. She had a very interesting piece in yesterday's New York Times. She talked about how she was at the covering the Republican National Convention in 1996. Okay, so that's, what is that? 20 years ago. Yeah. And she says, I was looking at my notebook, and she saw that she was writing down things that some of the people at the convention, the Republicans at the convention, were telling her. And here she has quotes around, she had Vince Foster killed, She's behind many more murders than that. Here's another one. It's well established that Hillary Clinton belongs to a satanic cult, and she still does. These are things that Faludi found in her book that she was being told. Okay, so what she's pointing out here is this scurrilous, unhinged hatred of Hillary goes back way, way, way far. And she says, let's look at where this came from, for God's sakes, that this woman is so sort of irrationally, viscerally, instinctively hated. And often I know someone who is married to a guy who hates her like this, and he's a Democrat, and he says he can't articulate why he hates her so much. So there's something bizarre going on. Listen to what Paul Ryan said about her. Hillary Clinton would create an America where passion, the very stuff of life, is extinguished. She is a demon. And there are people who actually believe it. Trump keeps talking about her 30 years in power, 30 years in power. And Faludi says, it's important to recall that she was deranging Republicans like this on day one of those 30 years. Day one. Understanding her demonization requires admitting her full significance in our political history. For she is not simply a pioneering woman fighting misogyny. She faces a two-headed monster and an artificial conjoining of wounded Republican invincibility that Bill Clinton created and wounded male prerogative. She says, recall the wrath that greeted Bill Clinton's ascension. To the Republicans in 1992, it meant a usurpation of what they felt was their rightful place since Ronald Reagan claimed the White House. Reaganism held almost religious significance. And its reign was supposed to be transformative and permanent. And when Bill Clinton came in and upset the apple cart, that started the total breakdown of the Republicans. Clinton and Clintonism had to be delegitimized to get the throne back. And they went at it. Do you remember that I don't think the Clintons were in the White House for a week before there was already investigations. There was an investigation into the Christmas card list. There was investigations into how travel arrangements were made. There was nothing that didn't create reason to investigate. And again, like emails now being a dirty word, if you just keep investigating and finding nothing, no convictions from any of this crap, you just keep investigating, you leave with the people who are hearing this on the news night after night, another congressional investigation into, you get the impression of unbelievable chicanery and crookedness and illegal activity, right? You get the impression of, and that's more than enough. So, she's a threat. She's a threat to Republicans for what they thought was their place, as Obama also was a threat. And she's a threat to a lot of this wounded male stuff going on. A lot of the reason Trump has all these angry white men, these are people who are feeling somehow shoved aside, feeling like they're losing what they had, a lot of privilege that they had. And there is some truth in that. Sorry, guys, you got to share. You didn't share for millennia. You didn't share with the women. You didn't share with the black people. You didn't share with the brown people. And push is coming to shove here, baby. They don't like it. Anyway, Faludi says it would be a mistake to think that Hillary Clinton, the imperfect politician, is not the right standard bearer for this fight, though. She was nominated to her role not last July at the Democratic National Convention, but in 1992, when her husband destroyed the myth of Republican invincibility and Hillary Clinton was anointed the feminine face of evil. Something like that. Obviously, Faludi makes a longer defense of how she comes to that determination, but it's very smart. Phil writes, at the outset, let me state unequivocally that I am voting for Hillary. Her resume is remarkable. By any measure, she's a public servant of the highest standard. I don't regard her as the lesser of evils. I am enthusiastically supporting her. Having stated all that, I sometimes think I could scream about that damn server. Why did she do that? Why did she make that awful decision to use her own private email system? I can't wrap my head around it. What was she thinking? You know, Phil, we're all left to wonder, what was she thinking about that? What was Comey thinking about what he did? You see people in situations making stupid mistakes that they think at the time will serve them. My guess is she just wanted control and comfort somehow. And my guess is that she didn't really understand. she and I are the same age. And I'm clueless about computers and all that stuff. I can see that she didn't quite get it. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah, but so we're all left shaking our heads. Oh, gosh. I got to tell you, I got one thing I'm leaving you with here, and it's a laugh, I hope. I came upon this in that magazine that I look at for little bits just like this, The Week. This had to come from the news somewhere. It just blew me away. An airline passenger boarded a flight in Charlotte, North Carolina with her emotional support animal. I have to tell you, I'm down on emotional support animals too, because it's been too many people have abused the privilege. I'm all for someone who really needs a dog, to be with them for something, but this is just what a bizarro nation we are. Okay, so this woman boards the flight with her emotional support animal. It was a duck. A duck wearing red shoes. How do you put shoes on a duck? They got, what do you mean, shoes on a duck? They got naturally red shoes. What the hell? She had shoes on this poor animal? God! Okay. She had a duck wearing red shoes and a Captain America diaper. They board the aircraft. Now, and apparently nobody said boo. Oh, she and the duck in the diaper and the red shoes were flown to their destination and waddled off together. Her name is Carla Fitzgerald, but she was surprised. I guess someone took some pictures of her duck, who wouldn't. Look what was sitting next to me on the plane. People took pictures of her pet duck and, of course, became an internet sensation that I somehow missed. And she says she was surprised. Bullshit. She was surprised because, quote, to me, having an emotional support duck is normal. I just want to say this, babe. Having an emotional support duck is not normal. I'm sick and tired of this shit. She said she suffers from trauma because of a traffic accident. Hey, I've had a traffic accident or 2 or 3 in my life. I don't have to go on airplanes with ducks wearing shoes as a result. I am so fed up with all of this. There are people who really need, in order to function, the help. And animals have proven to be wonderful help. I know dogs have. I know cats have. Ducks, I ain't so sure. And I have heard of others getting on planes with, pigs and who knows what, because their support animal happens to be that. I just think when people take this stuff to this kind of ridiculous degree, they end up harming it for the people who really do need it. And I also understand that almost anyone can get one of these designations. And people abuse the privilege. Always the case. So Carla Fitzgerald, wherever you are, you and your duck, I'm very happy that the two of you have such a close relationship, but this is bullshit. That's all I'm saying. It's bullshit. Okay, that's it for me. I intended that to be a laugh, and instead I got angry. Oh, dear. Anyway, trick or treat, blah, blah, blah. Be nice to the little kids who are inheriting this horror of a world. If anyone shows up in a Donald Trump mask, however, give them, dental floss. Okay? Give them a toothbrush. Give them, raisins. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.